Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I don't know about you, but I'm kind of glad it's fall already, even though I really like the summer. I think it's time to have a colder weather and I really feel like reading. So I thought about giving you 5 recommendations for fantasy / mystery books because I think it's like the vibe. The first one is Bone Saga. I don't have the first book on physical, so I'll be using the second book, Jackdaw. The first book is Jade City. This fantasy series is one of those fantasies that you really enjoy when you read, but the more time it passes and the more fantasies you read, the more you appreciate it because it's so different from other fantasy books I've read. Basically, you're in this island where there are 2 mafia families that kind of control everything, and there are the mountain clan and the cold clan. These 2 families are all the time in a cold war trying to control the exploitation of Jade, but this cold war is starting to become more and more dangerous, so they are kind of worried that it's going to become an actual war between the 2 clans. People who live in this island has to go for one of those 2 clans to get protection in case something happens. So you have the green warriors that are the ones that protect these families. Basically, it's like the typical mafia family, but with Jade instead of drugs or alcohol or whatever that we have in the real world. And Jade is so important here because some people who live in this island are able to use Jade to get supernatural abilities. Well, more like enhance their natural abilities. So they are faster, stronger, they can see better and hear better. So that's why there are like green warriors and they train for that. It's such a cool concept, everything about this. And you also have the other part of the world that wants to have Jade because they are trying to create this drug. So people who don't have this genetic disponibility to be able to use Jade to have more abilities can still use it and become also an extremely good warrior. I just feel like the author was able to put so many ideas, and you're following a family, the Cove family. So the mountain clan for us is like the enemy, even though they are both very flawed and not your typical villain enemy that is just bad. That's why I really love the villain in this story. I think she was such a badass. Basically, you have like the siblings of the Cove family. There are 3 of them. All the characters are so different. They feel so real. Hilo, for me, who is like the perfect green bone warrior, is still one of my favorite characters to follow. Not a character that you will mind that much seeing dead because he's not really a good person, but it's a character you will mind seeing dead because he's so interesting to follow and he's all the time doing things that you cannot predict. Everything about this series was really cool. I will highly recommend if you're looking for something different. Then I have my personal favorite trilogy, that is Book of Ancestor by Mark Lawrence. This is completely different, very character driven. I just feel it's so cozy just following a character you are in love with throughout the series, and in this case it's really cool because you're following Nona Grey, another one of my favorite characters. In this case, I will kill for her. So she is not even 10 when her family sells her for free. A lot of things happen, you don't know what really happens because she is such an unreliable narrator that she will tell you the story and she will lie and she will start the story again and lie again, and you will be like that all the book. So basically she's sentenced to death, and this nun goes to the prison and saves her, and she puts her on a convent where they are training little girls like her to become assassins, spies, warriors. It's such an amazing concept. So it's like academy setting because they are going to classes, but at the same time there are people who are trying to kill Nona because she killed someone that was really important. So now the family of that person she killed wants to have revenge and wants to kill her. So it's the constant danger of knowing that she could be dead at any point, but also she's going to classes, kind of Harry Potter set, but it's more grim dark. And it's also really cool book because at the beginning you're just following Nona Grey as she lies to you about what happens, and you slowly realize that she's not actually the monster she thinks she is. I think she's my favorite character when it comes to love. I just want to hug her. And it's also very interesting because at the beginning you're following just these girls as they become assassin nuns, but then slowly you realize that it's not only the convent, that there are things outside the convent. There is a war that's happening, that the war is in danger. So the stakes start so low and they get so high in so little time. I just think everything about this book book is screaming my name. It has like the epic feeling of it, but it stars very character driven, and there is also the suspense of not knowing what happens with Nona Grey because she keeps lying to you. So yeah, if you try this one, I really hope you love it because I think it's such an underrated series. Then I have two gay romance paranormal books. The first one is Good of Ravens. This is the ultimate book if you want the cozy feeling of the small town vibes, because you're following Shander, who is your local witch. And the thing is that there is this new policeman in town that Shander thinks he's so cute, but the policeman kind of hates him because every time he sees Shander, he will go to Shander and be like, this thing you're doing is dangerous, I'm going to find you for the most stupid things. Shander is like, this policeman is not alright. I don't know what problem he has with me. And you will realize soon that it's all a miscommunication because the policeman has a huge crush on Shander, but he doesn't know how to start talking with him. So every time he sees him, he's like, okay, I can say this to him because I'm actually really concerned about his well-being. I want him to be safe. So he's like very protective. It's the kind of romance that starts very, very slow, but when it starts, it really starts and goes really fast. I would have preferred a more steady pace. Technically it's a standalone, but the author is thinking about doing more books, which makes so much sense because having all those characters there only for one book is kind of a waste of potential because I think she can do a lot of things with that. If you're into paranormal, you will probably enjoy this one more than I did because I hate paranormal. I read this because I really wanted to try the author. I actually was okay about the paranormal thing, so if you like paranormal, you probably will find it a lot more interesting than I did. Then I have a book that is one of my all-time favorites and I barely talk about it because it's not a standalone, but it's a sequel of a trilogy, and I feel like if you read the trilogy, you will understand this book better. But lately I've seen some of my friends reading this book that haven't read the original trilogy, and they're like, I'm aware I'm losing part of it, but I still think this book is so worth the try. Because the thing is that not everyone loves the trilogy. I thought the trilogy was okay. I liked it because I was listening to the audiobook, and I think the audiobook was really good. But if I had to read the book, I don't know if I will actually finish it. So I will say you can try the first book of the original trilogy, A Charm of Magpies, if you want. But if not, just jump ahead to Jackdaw. I don't think I've ever read a gay second chance romance that was better than this one. You are following Jonah, and Jonah, you know him from the original trilogy, and he's between the bad guys. So now they are trying to catch him to make him pay for everything that he did. The thing is that if you read the original trilogy, you know that the good guys are really powerful and really dangerous when they are angry, and they are really angry at Jonah because he did a lot of bad things to them. So you have the main character that is running away from your original characters of the trilogy, so you're very worried about him, of course. And his former lover, Ben, he is a policeman, and he was betrayed by Jonah because Jonah is a thief. Of course, they are having a relationship in, I didn't say it, but this is set in historical UK. It's not historically accurate because in this parallel universe, Shanghai is like a queer paradise. So take that into account. If you like historical accurate historical fictions, don't try this one. But I hope you don't care that much about that, especially because it's a fantasy book, so I mean, liberties can be taken. So Ben hates Jonah because something happened. They realize that Jonah and Ben were together, so he loses his family because he's gay. He loses his job because he's a policeman, and Jonah is a thief, and they realize they were together, so that doesn't really work together, and he's sent to prison. So now that he's outside prison, he just wants to get revenge on Jonah. That's all he wants to do. But it's really tricky because he's still in love with Jonah, and in Jonah's case, he's trying to run away from the good guys in the original trilogy, but at the same time he wants to be with Ben, and he knows that Ben can be used to catch him, but at the same time it's like, if I cannot be with Ben, what's the point of keep living if I cannot be with the man I'm in love with? And everything about this book is so heartbreaking, but also the angst is so well done because you still can see that they love each other, but they just have different morals, they have different lives, they're not compatible at all, but they still love each other, so they cannot let the other one go, so they will be kind of running away the whole book, colliding the whole book, and everything about this was amazing. I was so excited. I was listening to the audiobook. Again, the audiobooks were so good. I remember just lying in bed listening to it because it was so good. I couldn't stop listening to it, but at the same time, everything I had to do around the house was done. Everything was so clean while I was reading this book. So I just have to lie there listening to the book, and it was amazing. And the last one is a cozy mystery. It's Secrets and Scrabble by Josh Lanyon. My favorite series by this author is actually the Adrian English mystery series, but I think this one is the perfect one for fall because instead of being a thriller romance as Adrian English mystery series, this one is a cozy mystery. It does have romance, but it's like very in the background. There is not a smut in this one, take that into account. I would rather read thriller romances usually, but the cozy mystery also has its perks because it's like very fun and light-hearted. In this case, you're following Ellery, who is a writer who used to live in New York, and he inherits this very old library in a very small town in Rhode Island, and she decided to just forget about his life in New York and come to this small town. But when he arrives there, there is this person who wants to buy the library, and he's like, no, I know it's a lot of work, but I want to do this. I want to change my life and I want to live here. The thing is that they argue, and that person ends up being dead on his library. So he's the new guy, and someone who has been there for a lot of years appears dead on his library. After arguing with him, things are getting really hard for Ellery. So the police chief, Jack, this is the day for police chief. I didn't realize it when I was doing the list, but we have 3 of them. Turns out policemen for some reason have a fall vibe for me. So you have Jack. You see that he's kind of protective of Ellery. Thank God, because he keeps doing the wrong things over and over again. So they will have to kind of solve the mystery so Ellery doesn't end up in prison for a crime that he didn't commit. This is a whole series. I've only read the first 3 books, but if you like cozy mysteries, I will highly recommend it. And the perks is that if you like romance, there is a romance in the very background. Again, not a romance mystery, but if you like having just a bit of flavor, I will recommend this one. So those were the recommendations. You can let me know in the comments which book do you think is perfect to read in fall, or which book you're really excited to read in fall, because I think every single person I've talked to have a kind of a different mindset when it comes to picking out books to read in seasons, which I think is really interesting. I hope you enjoy this. You can always like and you can subscribe if you want to see more of me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon in another video.